Okay, we are live. Gonna wait a minute just to see people pop in. Today's guest is Sara. She's a college student living in America, and she's so far the youngest person to be interviewed here. So excited to talk to her, so excited to pick her brain. She picked some great questions. I see you, Sara, so I'm going to go ahead and add you. We'll just talk a little bit until a few more people sign in. Thank you so much to everybody who joins in this conversation. All right, Sara, I'm tapping you in. Let's see, plus button. Nope. Where's Sara? There you are. Invite.
Okay.
That
Hello.
was quick. Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it. I know, it's probably out of maybe a little bit of your comfort zone, so I appreciate this so much.
For having me. I'm really excited for this. I've been looking for.
Awesome. All right, that's what I like to hear. Awesome. I'm so glad to hear it. Um, okay, well, let's just start. Introduce yourself. What's your connection to the Caucasus? Where have you lived? Where do you currently live? Whatever you're comfortable sharing for our viewers.
Okay. So my name's Sara Yilmaz. I'm living in New Jersey. I've always lived here. But I have gone to the homeland back in Caucasus a couple years ago, and I think that really connected me to my lineage a lot more. And I think I really learned a lot more about the culture and everything like that from that visit. Um, but back here in America, I think that I'm still connected with the culture, of course. I think because there's such a strong Circassian population here in New Jersey, I think that makes it really easy to still identify myself with the culture and still be a part of that. Like, we have the Circassian Benevolent Association, and I spend a lot of time there. I do a lot of things in there, and I think that kind of has helped me stay connected. So yeah, even if I can't, if I'm not going to be able to be in the homeland, I think that the community we have here is definitely a strong way to stay connected with everything.
Beautiful. What is it that you do at the Circassian Benevolent Association,
Yeah, so
also known as the
yeah,
CBA, for anybody watching who has no idea about that place?
yeah. So I actually just came back from the Sunday school. So we have a Sunday school over there, which is religion and has a Circassian class there. So I'm a volunteer there. I used to also teach at the Gebza to some young children as well.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, but now I'm just a volunteer just because I'm busy with school and everything like that. But that's something I'm a part of. I'm also in the dance group. So that's another way, connecting with the culture and all of that. And there's a ton of events that go on at the CBA, and part of those events are made by the CYC, which is the Circassian Youth Committee, and
Right.
I'm for that as well. And we try to sort of engage the youth to come to the CBA, hang out with Circassians, young Circassians, all of that.
Awesome. What's your favorite dance to do in dance practice?
Um, I mean, I love Gotha just as a basic, and then I think probably like the Tepidif or Chechen. I think that those are
Okay. Tepidif is my favorite. That's the
yeah,
one, just the funnest
yeah, fun.
hop around to. Okay, awesome. That's amazing. So teaching at the Sunday school dance practice. So you said you spend a lot of time there. I mean,
Yeah.
that's awesome. No, that's amazing. Um, and so the next question would be, how do you connect with your lineage? How did you connect with your lineage in the past, and how are you doing so as an adult? So I feel like you kind of answered that question. Is there anything that you do maybe outside of the CBA? It's so cool that you actually speak Adigabza. I know that when I spoke to Shan last week, him and I have it in common that we don't actually speak it. So I'm guessing at home, your parents really pushed that.
Yeah, really,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think that's also like a really important way to be a part of the culture because um, it's the language is I think that it's something like so special, and I think it's like such a important part of the language that like if you know it, I think it's so important to spread it and teach it to more people. And even if you don't know the language or anything like that, like I don't think that that really defines who you are. I think that the language is like sort of like an added part of being Circassian. But I think that um, I think just the language in general, like I think is such a cool part about being Circassian. It's so unique, and I think, like I said, like I was and I think I was a teacher, and I think that passing that on to the next generation, I think is really cool, and that's another way that like connecting with the lineage and all that. I think just passing it down to the future generations, I think that that's a super important part of it all.
Did you feel like when you were teaching, do you feel like the kids pick it up? Are they like enthusiastic about it? I mean, how is that working with children, teaching them a language that they basically probably hear only there or maybe at home a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely challenges because I was teaching kids from like ages 4 to almost 10, pretty much.
Mm,
And so you got like different ages. They sort of like they're different grades in school and everything like that. So they kind of all learn in their own ways at their own speeds and
right.
everything like that. And when you're teaching them a whole new language, especially a language as complicated as Circassian, I think that there's definitely you're gonna face some challenges. But at the same time, by the end of the school year, I knew that they like definitely picked up a lot of it. And I knew a lot of them were like enthusiastic about it. They'd go home and like tell their parents what they learned
Oh,
back and tell me what they told their parents. I thought it was like
very
really
cute.
cool. They were, yeah, they were so into learning it, and I think that that was just like a great part of like being a teacher, just knowing that like even though they're young, and you can't teach them like you can't treat them like adults or anything like that. Like however young they are, I think that they still pick up on it, and then I think that they carry a lot of it with them after the school.
That's so beautiful. Here in Istanbul, I'm living in Istanbul at the moment. Um, we almost signed my 5-year-old up for Circassian language lessons at the local Kafka center that they have here. But it's such a hike for us to go, and it's like it would be like an all-day event, so we opted out, but I wish he could be your student. I would love that. That's so cool. Um, okay, let's go to the next question. How is your culture maintained even with all the changes that occur in the world and have occurred in the world?
Yeah, so I think just being engaged in the culture and knowing that like who you are and sort of like staying grounded with that. I think that really helps you hold on to it and maintain your culture. And I think that so much about like being a Circassian in New Jersey is centered around this community. I think that that helps maintain everything because you always know that you can come back to this place and that there's always going to be Circassians here that they're going to be helping you out with like anything you need. And so, maintaining it through things like dance and learning the language, I think, a super important part of it all. And I think just knowing that you always have this community to fall back on, or like this group of people that are always going to be there for you because you have this part of your identity in common. So I think despite everything going on in the world, you know that there's always people supporting you. There's always going to be Circassians that are there for you. And I think that you never really can get lost when there's such a strong community behind you.
Right. That's amazing. That's a beautiful answer. Um, what's a characteristic that describes your culture as a whole?
I think something like lively or energetic. I think
Okay.
anything along those lines because um, even though we don't have like necessarily like a homeland or anything like that, we're still very much an alive culture. We're still like, going strong. So I think saying that we're lively sort of pushes like the narrative that, I used to think about how it's like, oh, well, like it's Caucasians, it's like such a small, ethnic group. But I think if we say that we're lively, it's sort of like shifting the way we think about it and showing that like we're still going on despite all the challenges, being so spread out all over the world, everything like that. There's so many communities around the world that continue to push the culture, everything like that. So I think lively. And then I also think that like just saying that we're like determined because we've never let go of our culture. We've always had this connection to the Caucasus. I think saying that we're determined proves how much we care about it. And even things like I was saying, with teaching it to the next generation, I think that's such an important part about like being determined. And I think that really defines, like, I think it's a great characteristic to define the culture. So yeah,
Beautiful.
And determined.
That's really beautiful. You reminded me, so a few years ago, some years ago now, when there were a lot of protests for the Sochi Olympics and stuff like that, I remember my cousin, I don't know if she's going to watch this, but my cousin Yara Kazan, she had a sign, and I will never forget the sign. It said, "Still here, still Circassian." You
Definitely.
know, because it was 150 years to the dot of the genocide, you know, the 1864, and I was just like, that's exactly it, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that you're absolutely right, like very determined. You know, I like to think our people are a little bit stubborn. And I think that that's a really great way to kind of channel that energy of like, no, we're not going anywhere, you know. I think that that's really beautiful.
Yeah, and like you were saying, the protests, I think that that's a perfect proof. Like that's perfect evidence to show that we really are this determined group of people. I think
Right, right, beautiful. Okay, so in your mind, what has changed the culture for the past, this says decades, but I mean, as long as you can kind of in your mind place it like a timeline, that turned out to be positive. So changes in the culture that have been positive, let's say in recent years.
yeah, I really like this question because I think my answer to it is definitely social media, just because of what we're doing right now.
Right.
Social media has definitely had like such a positive impact, that like is definitely turning out to be positive for our scenario. Because of course, like everyone's gonna complain like social media, has its downsides, everything like that. But in terms of being able to connect people from all around the world, I think
Mm,
that's definitely such an upside to it all. And I think that we learn so much from what other people are posting. Like I've learned so much about the culture from not only just who's around me, like in my general like area, New Jersey or whatever, just seeing everything online and learning so much more about the culture through that, I think has had such a positive impact. And I think that I think social media has been one of the best things for the Circassian people because it finally gives us a chance to meet other Circassians from around the world. Without it, we would just kind of be like confined to our own spaces. But with it, we're seeing posts from all around the world, and we're taking in so much information about our culture and just learning so much about it. So I think that for connecting other people from the Caucasus, all of that, I think that social media has been like the best thing. I mean, like even just what we're doing right now, like we
right.
would, we're in two completely different like countries, but I think that the way that we're doing this and it's going to be posted and it's going to be spread to other people, not only in Turkey or not only in America, it's going to be spread all throughout. And I think that that's like the greatest thing.
Right. I want to ask you, so do you have any favorite accounts that you follow, like on Instagram, that you find like so interesting, or just like really like do it for you?
I see like so many in a day. But I would say honestly, yours has probably been like the coolest page I've seen, just because,
Wow. Thank you.
just because, no problem. Just because of like, I think your goal, with your page, because, like you're called actually Caucasian. So I think like just the idea of like redefining what it means to be from the Caucasus and be Caucasian,
Right.
so unique and so interesting. I've never seen like anything like it before. And I think that it's like, it's so original. Like I would have like, never thought about that. And I think that knowing that there's like a page that's like redefining what it means to be Caucasian and showing what it means to be from the Caucasus, just like is just such a new like direction to take for these types of like Circassian or Caucasian pages. So I think that like everything that you're doing, all your, all the goals that you have, I think that they're really interesting. And I think that definitely became one of my favorite Circassian pages.
Thank
Just
you.
different, and it's so unique. And I think that it's it's definitely like just a refreshing thing to see. So yeah, I think definitely yours.
Thank you so much. I appreciate
Sure.
that so much. I mean, I can't even, I have been using the phrase like actually Caucasian in kind of a like sassy way for some time now. And I was like, you know what? I can't let go of this thing. So that's kind of how this page
Yeah.
came about. Again, redirecting that energy to something positive, you know. But I appreciate it so much. And I hope that anybody watching or you know, down live or down the road can see how comfortable, hopefully you're having a comfortable time. I would love to talk to so many people, and I especially want to focus on young people, because again, as you said, you know, that's so important to just kind of give people a chance to connect and talk and have it like a safe space to just express themselves. So thank you so much. I hope my content will continue to bring you back to my page. Okay, so the next question, do you think the quote, when in Rome, do as the Romans do, is always good advice? Why or why not? And have you ever been in a situation where you felt like you had to quote, do as the Romans do?
So I think, you know, the quote, when in Rome, do as Romans do, I think it's kind of a little bit harmful to like our case, just because it's sort of pushing like the idea of you have to conform to what's around you. And I think that conforming, like especially when you're from like this type of ethnic group where it's so small, it's so limited,
Right.
I think that conforming is going to do more harm because you're not really allowing yourself to express yourself. So I think that um, if we sort of limit ourselves and just try to fit in with everybody else, like let's say like fit in with, you know, Americans and everything like that, I think that we're losing part of our identity through that. Like for example, I like consider myself a Circassian American because I don't want to, you know, although I live in America, I was born here, everything like that. I know I'm American, but I don't want to let go of that little, you know, that one little word that says Circassian because I think it holds so much like power, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that it helps define who you are as a person. Um, so I think conforming to, you know, whatever society is asking for, everything like that, I think that it's something that we should avoid um, when it's sort of conforming in a way that makes you lose, you know, that one little thing that like that little spark or like that little edge that you have being this occasion. So yeah, but honestly, I don't think I've ever kind of like been in that situation just because I don't think I've like ever felt the need to be. I've always prided myself on the culture. I've always
Right.
like been proud to say I'm Circassian, everything like that. So I don't think I've ever really had to you know, like do as the Romans do because I've never really been in a scenario like that. And I think that I've always been proud to show who I am. I've never really tried to hide that part of me. So, yeah, I've never really tried to conform in that sense, in like a cultural or ethnic sense. So, yeah.
Okay. Just to kind of bounce off of this question, do you think, like for people who have a harder time with the Romans, do you think you'd have like any supportive words or advice, to people who have maybe a little bit of a struggle with that?
Yeah, definitely. Um, I think, you know, if you're kind of in that place where you feel the need to do as Romans do, I think that something maybe to keep in mind is that like we're just so unique as a group of people being from the Caucasus. I think we're so unique, and if we let go of that part of us, I think we live just like lose so much of that, of our culture, like our backgrounds, our roots, everything like that. So I think it's really important to just like let that part of you shine through, and you know, if you're not letting it like shine through, at least don't try to hide it and just sort of
Mm,
like just be natural about like who you are, you know, don't try to just, you know, say you're not one thing and try to be another. I think just be who you are, despite like, you know, what anyone may think about it, because at the end of the day, um, you're part of the special group that so many people, you know, aren't part of it. And I think that it's just um, I it's sort of like, why would you want to hide this, you know, a unique part of yourself, you know? So I
right.
think just sort of like be, it's kind of like generic and kind of cliche, but like just really be who you are, because that's really all you have at the end of the day. So
Right.
there you
Yeah,
go.
I love that. I personally, I get very inspired by watching other people of other ethnic groups
Mhm.
fully embrace their culture. And one of those ethnic groups that I just love to kind of watch and learn from are the indigenous people of the, North American continent, the
Yeah.
first people, because they went through so much like oppression, and they were like, there were laws in place. They were not allowed to speak their language. They had to cut their hair, like the government schools, all of that. And if they're able to like go and have their powwows and speak their language, and they're able to have like what is like a kind of a cultural renaissance, it just inspires me so much. So I think that that's really cool, and it kind of aligns with this whole Caucasian thing, because I feel like we might blend in Western countries, right? And I think that for some people that's very helpful, and or very harmful, depends on your outlook, like, um do I want to stand out, or do I want to kind of just blend in? And we're kind of in this in between space. So I think that's really cool, because you get what you're basically saying is, even if you stand out, even if you blend in, just be who you are, and you know try to make it natural as possible.
And I love the example you brought up as well, like just looking at other cultures, because, when we see them, they're always so proud of themselves. Like, I mean, from being in New Jersey, it's such a diverse place. So I'm exposed to so many different cultures, so many different
Right.
ethnicities, see how proud they are and how vocal they are about it. And I think that if we sort of take after that same idea of just letting it be known who we are, I think that that would help us so much in terms of letting our heritage be known more, and just, showing that we're not like, all the rest of the crowd, and we have our own part of ourselves that's different.
Right.
Maybe it stands out, maybe it doesn't, but it's like something that really sets us apart and makes us, our own people, even in, wherever we are in the world.
Right. Are you the type of person that takes the extra time? Like, do people ask you, I guess I should say first, like, where are you from? Do you get
Yeah.
that question?
Yeah.
And I'm guessing you're the person that takes the extra time to like, do you have a minute? Like,
Yeah.
break it down. You do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you don't really explain and go to like great lengths to really explain it, then sometimes people will just be like, "Oh, so you're Russian," and it's like, no. Um,
Right.
yeah, so I don't want to say that because it's not true, and I don't want people like that assumption to be made by other people. So yeah, going the extra length, it takes some time, takes some explaining, but I think it definitely is worth it. People will definitely know who you are by the end of it.
Right. And then I just had an incident last night. I was on Clubhouse, and I'm in a room. They're talking about racism and all of this like social, like racial topics, which I love it. So um, they asked me to talk, and I said that I'm actually Caucasian, and I explained it. And then one of the moderators said, in all my time I spend on this app, you are the first person I have ever met to actually be Caucasian. And I was like, yep. What can I say?
That's
That's
great.
me. Yeah. I love being that person for people. Okay, and then this is our last question, but we can keep talking. We can wrap it up afterwards, whatever you like. Do you have any hopes for the future of the community you're part of, which is the New Jersey community, or the Caucasus in general?
Yeah, so I mean, we were explaining it before how passing it to the younger generation, I think, is what I'm most hopeful for, because at this point with like a lot of like older people, I think that trying to change something is so difficult. Like you said, like I think we're stubborn people, and we
Right.
having like stability and all that. But I think in terms of being hopeful for the next for like just in general the community or the Caucasus, I think it's just definitely just passing on the culture, our traditions, everything like that to the next generation is what's really going to keep everything going and keep us, rolling along. So I think that I'm just hopeful that we have so many people that care about the culture that they want to continue spreading it as well. So I think that that's a goal that's both within the community here and just a general goal. So I think just, within the community, we definitely have our group of people that's always there to continue, teachings and all of that. So that's kind of more centered around here. And I think in general, for like all people from the Caucasus, I think it's just continuing what we've been doing. And I think just pushing it more, just because I've realized that like a lot of the times we kind of get lost and like mixed up with like so many different things in our lives, everyone's has school and work and all that, and socializing with all different types of people. I think that
Right.
sometimes we may kind of like sort of like get lost in between then. And I think that if we kind of keep this goal in mind of wanting to continue our heritage and all of that, I think that that's something that that's something that I'm hopeful for, and I hope that we can really continue that. And I think it has to start now. You know what I mean? Like, I think
Right.
that to it's not something that can wait. It's something that we have to sort of attack and take on right now, because if we don't do it now, I think that it's going to be too late. So I just hope that we have people, I mean, I know we do, but I hope that we just have this sort of common goal in mind, that it's important to pass all of this knowledge on to our next generation, and then afterwards the next. So I think I'm just hopeful that we continue staying passionate about all of this.
Right. Oh, amazing. I agree. I think that it's all about passing it on. And
Definitely.
that's super important. So I think that ties in with what you were saying about social media,
Mhm.
that we're just able to kind of throw these info bits out there. I mean, I've learned more about my culture in the last year just off of Instagram than probably my entire life. And I used to be in the dance group at the CVA, and I mean, I grew up and I grew up right around there, so it's just hard to get that information as a child, so it's pretty cool. Okay, so thank you so much, Sarah. I appreciate beautiful conversation. I'm so glad to meet you. I hope down the road that we can keep in touch. And I wanted to ask you if it's okay, because I know you're a college student, but are you in your major? Just so because
Yeah, so I'm currently attending Rutgers, Newark, and I'm a psychology major right now.
psychology. Oh my God. Oh, that's amazing. If I
Thank you.
could go back in time, I would have studied psychology. I ended
Really?
up doing interior design, but I would have totally done psychology. I am so obsessed with it right now. Ugh,
Yeah,
so
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 interesting.
you're a people person.
Yeah, I mean, I
That's
think,
so awesome.
yeah, I think I really want to like go into like psychiatry, and I think that like, it's obviously it's for helping people, and I think that um, I just really want to be like a supportive person for other people, and I think part of that
Amazing.
from being this person who's always been volunteering and stuff like that. I think that that kind of like really pushed me to do what I'm doing now. So
Oh,
yeah.
that's so amazing. And are you interested in any area of psychology?
Um,
Um,
yeah, more towards I would say sort of developmental and abnormal sort of.
okay. Okay.
Really interested in like why we turn out to be the people we are. So that kind of
Right.
I really want to um hone in on.
That's amazing. Well, I
Thank you.
wish you the best of luck with your studies.
Thank you.
Um, so exciting. Thank you so much, Sarah, for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you for everybody who tuned in. We appreciate it. Like, share, whatever, all the things. Spread this beautiful conversation with Sarah around, and get to know actual Caucasians, right?
Yeah.
All right. So I always forget how to turn this thing off, but it's gonna be a little awkward for a second.
It's okay.
Oh, Rosa, you're so sweet. She's the one who told me to message you, by the way. I'm gonna out her. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Sarah. Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you.